Good evening everybody, welcome to the studio tonight. Sorry I'm a bit late. It also helps if I turn phantom power on my microphone. I've been working away from, home today and I was a bit late having my evening meal. So I've just got in to the studio. So, just getting ready. Yes. What do I want? What I want now is to clamp this piece down. And I shall just swap my glasses, which will enable me to see a little bit more clearly. That way I'll be able to see the mistakes as I keep making them. Right, so quite a bit of work to do on this wing, so we shall make a start. Yep, okay. So what we're doing here is just continuing now to lower this wing down. Remembering now I need to carve in straight lines, or straightish lines at least. This the bone there needs to be made prominent, so I've got some work to do on that. I know where these fingers are all going. I'm still feeling a Kenneth. Hello, good evening, welcome to the studio this evening. I don't think I've seen you here before. Thank you for dropping in. I am, as you can see, well, hopefully, if that's what it looks like, I'm attempting to carve a dragon. Actually, the camera's a little bit... there we go, you can see a little bit more of it. I'm attempting to carve a dragon, and actually also at the same time attempting to fix a mistake that I made when I was rough carving this wing, in that I actually carved it too low down. The arm bone should join the body at quite a high level, and I accidentally forgot that and carved it quite low. So I'm having to firstly shape this wing so that the arm is consistent, and then shave the body down so that the arm joins at a sort of correct position. Oh, okay, well that's not a problem. I don't mind people lurking around. I often do that in streams, so that's I couldn't really tell anybody else off for doing it, could I, when I do that quite a lot. There's too many interesting streams in creative, and I usually end up watching about 4 at the same time, and I just can't keep track of chat in 4 different streams. So I usually end up lurking. Yeah, and this the thing is, the bones, actually the bones, yes, the bones pencil. Before I make another mistake, the bones have the wing membrane around the bones has to be lower than the bones, because the bones sort of stick out like your backbone does. If you feel it, it sticks out a little bit above the surface, so I need to sort of carve a curved shape. But the finger bones are sort of down here as well, and the finger bones also need a curved shape. Sorry, need a curved shape with a bump in the surface, really. And I've got to remember that and not carve them too flat, which I was potentially just about to do, which would then cause me a real problem. Okay, well, so far it hasn't been too bad. Your English seems perfectly okay. And I know your English is better than whatever other language I may try to speak. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do here is establish, I'm about the sort of height I want for these bones. So what I want to try and do now is establish that sort of bump in the surface of the wood. I still need it to be a bit deeper than that, so that I can carve it over. So, because I don't actually know the exact position of the other bones just yet, what I'm just doing here is just carving a channel down the side of the bone, so I can carve the bone itself, and then I can make the wing membrane fit that. So that should be. I'm going to be quite delicate here. I don't want to sort of do a massive cut. I just really want to shave this bone. It's it's just like the ribs on an umbrella. It just pushes the skin up a little bit. I may well make it a little bit more pronounced than I am doing at the moment, but if I can do it very shallow to start with, I can always make it deeper. So it's a sort of a trade-off that I'm doing. You know, the upper arm bone here is quite a bit thicker than the lower arm. So I'll just keep switching between the various chisels, or the two chisels I'm using at the moment, just to keep slowly working towards the shape I'm after. In fact, I could do with the chisel being as sharp as I can, well, not as sharp as I can get it, but sharp. So I'm just going to polish the edge of it, which will make what I'm doing a bit easier to do. Because it'll slice through the wood a lot easier. And in this particular area here, I'm having to cut in a direction to the grain that I'm not comfortable with. The grain is working against me, but I don't have a lot of choice because I just can't get in from the other angle, the correct angle that I should be using. I'm just carving myself a little bit of room alongside this bone. This is where the wing membrane is. It's about the upper arm is relatively thick, but it's about the wing membrane is about halfway down the bone. In some ways this is it's rather early to be carving details like this in the piece, but I kind of don't really have a lot of choice, because what I've got to do is establish the correct level for the wings and the wing membranes, and to do that I need to carve these bones. So I'm able to tell just how low I need to go. Yeah. So just a lot of really fine carving, I'm afraid, at this point. It is almost at a level of finish carving, this, because once I've established exactly where these bones are, I actually, quite frankly, am not all that inclined to change it. I think what I'm going to need to do at this point probably is do a bit more work on the body again, because I don't actually know where the body is going to sit. Around here and around this area here. So I'm going to do this and then I'll come back to that, because it may well be that I have to change just what I'm doing. At least I do have a little bit more space around here now. Well, the dragon is stood on a pinnacle of rock. Which is what this sort of stepped area is here. Now, because of my mistake, I'm going to have to make this area somewhat closer to the backboard than I originally intended, but that's not really a problem. Now, one thing I'm not particularly bothered about on these rocks is the fact that stop cuts that I'm applying here may well end up actually being part of the final piece, just because of the carving angles, but I'm not fantastically bothered about that, because this is rock, and being rock it will have all sorts of marks and cracks and things in it. So some visible stop cuts isn't really going to be an issue in that respect. So I don't have to be overly careful with it, really. Which makes doing it a little bit easier. Now this area here, however, there is an impact, because this ultimately is the sky. Or I may make it easy on myself actually and say, hey, it's a part of the rock. I could do that, because it's a horrible area to get a blade into. To smooth it out. So I could actually cheat. Yeah, it's whilst the reference picture that I'm using, the dragon is somewhat, stood on a sharp pinnacle, as you can sort of see. It does spread out quite a bit, so I can just call this a part of the rock, and it wouldn't really be a problem. So that is actually one way in which I can overcome the difficulty I've got in getting into this area with chisels. I have to be a bit careful around that tail. I don't want to crack it off. which is more than possible. In fact, it's extremely likely if I'm not very careful. Right, let's see if we can get rid of some of this here. Right, not a lot of space in that. Switch to a thinner chisel. Got a really thin gouge here, and this should allow me to get into, well, it does allow me to get into these tiny spaces, but I really need to try and do it as smoothly as I can. As this is about the only chisel I can physically get in here. Dear, I do give myself some carving challenges sometimes. This is definitely one of those times. If I put the tail around the other way, for example, this wouldn't be a problem. Something I should have thought about before I started carving. was exactly how I was going to carve it. Now that's about preparation, so I didn't quite prepare as well, very well for doing this. But given that it's the first time I've ever carved a dragon, then I guess it's experience, and I'll definitely know next time not to give myself such tiny spaces. For each. Good evening. Good evening to Siberia, Russia. That's quite a distance away from me here in the UK. Thank you for dropping into the studio this evening. I am I'm regretting my lack of foresight in carving this, in that if I'd have put the tail the other side, I'd have had plenty of space to carve around the wing and the tail, and I wouldn't have this problem on this side of having a really tiny space to try and carve into. But it's done now, so I will just have to put up with it and do my best. Which hopefully will be quite good. One of the things I'm going to do, I think, around here is, say, make this rock which was only going to be this wide, actually make it a little bit wider, so that having a rough area in here isn't a problem. And I'm going to wrap the, instead of the tail being sort of floating in mid-air, I'm going to wrap the tail around the rock, because this wood otherwise would probably split very easily, and the tail would crack off, which I don't want it to do. Now if it is rock, that gives me an excuse for not having a particularly smooth surface, and in fact at some point I will actually rough the surface up, because carving it often actually smooths the surface down, but if I rough it up like a rock surface, then I don't have to worry about creating a nice, really nice smooth background. 3D bloke, good evening, welcome to the studio this evening. I've just been saying I kind of rue my lack of preparation really on this piece. If I'd have thought about it, I think I mentioned it the other night, I'd have put the tail the other side, and then I'd have had a lot more room to carve in. So I trust you're okay today, 3D bloke. I've been out of the office, well, I've been in the office today, but not the home office. So I got in quite late tonight. Is it Sel? Good evening, welcome to the studio this evening. So is it harvest tonight, 3D, or are you doing something different tonight? Right, I think I might have established a level for the wing, but I've got to take this back foot down below the wing membrane and then carve the body down a little bit to match positioning. So whilst I think I've probably got close to my final position, I won't actually know at the moment until I've done some more carving. Okay. Well, I hope you you get to feel better soon. It's not really nice being feeling like that. I didn't sleep too bad last night. I just didn't have that much of it. I'm having to get up early this morning. My journey into the office is about an hour and a half. My journey to my home office is about 10 seconds. So I had to get up quite a bit earlier than normal. And since I didn't get to bed until about 2 o'clock this morning, it was rather a short night. Too many interesting streamers. Have you had anybody approach you 3D from another site called Watch Me Work? Yeah, it's a lot nicer journey. Coffee's better as well. Well, unless you want to pay for the expensive stuff. Right, I know it's going to have to go further down still. It's actually an Indiegogo campaign at the moment. It's sort of... The idea seems to be that well, I'm actually not quite sure what the idea actually is, because they use at the moment they're using Google Plus to do the video capture, and YouTube Live to do the broadcasting, and they just stick a chat on it on their site. But the idea is supposed to be like you can watch professionals doing, I will say their job, like a 3D animator or something like that, and in theory then be able to ask questions and things and have some sort of couldn't quite work it out whether they're supposed to interact with you on Google Plus or in a text chat, but they're talking about 30-second delays and things like that on Twitch chat, which on the broadcast stream when you're using Google Plus through Live and things like that. And I'm not altogether sure what it's about. They're trying to get me to join and stream. But to be honest, don't really want, I can't dual stream because of the fact that they're using Google Plus, and well, it's really awkward to dual stream, shall we say, using Google Plus. I don't really want to set up yet another system. About the only benefit they're offering at the moment, because they don't appear to have much of an audience, is that if you stream 1 hour for 1 hour a time for 6 weeks, they'll give you featured streamer for life. At this rate, though, I'm not altogether sure how long their life is going to be. they're also extremely keen to physically talk to me as opposed to answer questions in email. It's a website, watchmework.com. But I'm not altogether sure it's worth the effort. I certainly don't seem to have a lot of people streaming there at the moment, apart from themselves, I suspect. They suggest that they're going to approach a lot of Twitch streamers, and given that the premises Watch Me Work, it's going, the people they're going to be approaching is in creative. Well, I may just wait and see if he actually gives me a ring at work tomorrow. Because that may well see how serious they are, given they appear to be in the US, so there's some time zone differences, which could be fun. Yeah, that's kind of like it, because I would have to, I mean, as I'd have to set up a completely new streaming environment. At least some of the other new ones, like I don't know, like Beam or something like that. You can use OBS broadcasting. It's just a different thing, and I can either run two OBS or I can actually run a video splitter, and I can simulcast if I want it to two channels. I've got enough bandwidth to two sites, so it kind of wouldn't be so bad, because I can obviously stream it, just basically have two different chats up. It might be a little bit confusing for people watching, but it is technically sort of feasible. But the other thing is, it's YQ 1475. Thank you very much for following the studio this evening. That is most fantastic of you. I do appreciate it. Thank you. What was I saying? Yeah, the other thing is, it's an hour. It's an hour when I can't stream on Twitch, and Twitch is more usable to me at the moment. And the other thing would be is, because I can't stream on Twitch at the same time, I'd have to start a new piece as well. And if I was, so I can only stream that piece then on the new site, and then that would mean that it would sort of like take 20 weeks to finish something, which is an absolutely ridiculous thing. So, as I say, the only benefit they're able to offer to do it is to be a featured streamer for life, and if it's a small site, then that's not saying much. It kind of looks like at the moment they've only got about 2 streamers. It's not it wouldn't be particularly hard to be a featured streamer anyway. Yeah, they've got an Indiegogo campaign going for £20,000 to pay a 2 developers for a year. Which kind of worries me, because it doesn't look like they've got any other source of income. So I can't really see how long they're going to be around. Well, this site is Google Hangouts. They're using the Google Hangouts web client. But then it looks like what they're doing is they're you use that, stream it through YouTube Live, and then they just point people at your YouTube Live URL. So in some ways all they're offering in that respect is an aggregation service or an advertising service. You know what, I've kind of made a decision. I'm just not to do it. I'm kind of just talking myself into it, into not doing it, that is. Oh, I've just realised my own preview stream was frozen. It froze on the advert. Don't you know? Surprise, surprise. Yeah, shoestring stuff. Yeah. Oh, you're supposed to have your volume off. Thank you. There we go. Yeah, it's sorry, I'm kind of just using you and the stream as a sounding board on that, because it's you just sometimes need to hear, you know, just verbalize something sometimes to go, what the hell am I messing about at? Yeah, what am I messing about at? They've got no way for people to follow you. They've got no way ultimately of you know, there's no tools for knowing when you know, well, people can't follow you, so they can't be notified, and you know, you can't message anybody, and if you ever wanted to get into monetizing in any shape or form, then you know, they don't appear to have that capability. In fact, I mean, the whole premise seems to be not to have that sort of capability. Since they seem to be suggesting the idea is that you know, you want to learn Photoshop, well, you go talk to people doing Photoshop or on stream, or possibly join a Google Hangout to gain experience or to get help from them. They've got a mixed message. Sorry. Yeah. There's something to be said for you know, going to an established site rather than something brand new. I know in theory there's the you know, the first mover advantage and things like that, but unless they've got an audience, it's a lonely first move. Oh well, on to more interesting things like carving. Blimey. What I'm trying to do here is now carve the background down enough to carve the leg down so it goes below the wing membrane. And then once I've got that leg down that low, I can then carve the body and tail area down to match everything in that area, and then we'll actually know whether or not the wing is low enough. Okay. I'm not. I'm kind of very limited in my knowledge of hosting companies. I mean, their suggested. I'm going to say their suggested goals of sort of, and their suggested architecture that they seem to be operating seem like a good idea, but you know, I'm not familiar with hosting companies, so I'm not able to comment in that respect, but I've kind of kept looking at it a few times. I've seen a while ago, couple or 3 weeks ago, I saw quite a few of, you know, well-known streamers, shall we say, trying it out, but then they seem to have stopped, which says a lot to me. You know, they're not continuing, and I've not seen a lot of streamers actually on there. There's a few game stuff and what have you, but nothing particularly spectacular, shall we say, in terms of audiences yet. So, Alwasha, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. Nice to see you here. Thank you very much for that. I'm glad to see that my mistakes aren't showing up too badly. 84 Guy, good evening. Welcome to the studio this evening. How are things going at your end? I don't know if you've been streaming today. I don't think you were going to, from what I remember. But I kind of rushed in from work. I've been in the office today, and rushed in from work, had my tea and jumped straight on the stream. So I've not had Twitch on anything at all today. Oh, okay, a new ETS. Yeah, I've got it. I've downloaded it, and that's as far as it's got. Oh, that should be quite nice. I mean, at this moment in time, other than faulty memory, it's not impacting me. Most of the time, it doesn't impact me a great deal. The stream delay, unless I ask a direct question, and then you're sort of waiting for it, and you know, occasionally my memory problems of actually trying to remember what I said 30 seconds ago. But most of the time, it's not particularly a problem. But I guess as I mean, sometimes chat gets quite lively, and then it can be quite hard to keep up with what's being said with the long delays on the stream. Apologise if you can't. I'm going to say, what I might do is just zoom this camera in a little bit. You might be able to see a bit more about what I'm doing. Oh, camera's done it again. I have to restart the camera. It won't zoom in any more than that, I'm afraid, without me unplugging it and plugging it back in. Elite Dangerous with the HOTAS. Okay. You could just about, yeah, I suppose you can just about fly those ships with the HOTAS. Which, in case anybody who's watching has no idea what HOTAS means, which I probably grant you is of not many people, but hands on throttle and stick, if I remember correctly. Basically, you've all the controls that you need for flying a fighter, which is where the HOTAS comes from. All the controls that you need for general flight are on the stick or the throttle, so your hands never leave them. suppose you could describe Elite Dangerous as a sort of a simulator. Don't know how good the space physics actually are, but oh, I've seen back. That is a fast response time, 5 seconds. Well, of course, I'm used to, or relatively used to, lecturing, where the feedback is about 30 minutes. Yeah. Right. Yes, it can be. Can be. The longer the delay, the harder it is to actually hold a conversation with chat. As a stream, it does hold an advantage. You know, a delay in that. Yeah. For example, I can talk as I'm doing here without looking at chat, and I'm carving at the same time. And I know that you know, I only need to glance at the chat window, see nothing's moved, and then come back to it. If chat was sort of on a 2 or 3 second response rate, then I guess I'd have to be looking a lot more frequently, and I'd probably get a lot less carving done, or whatever it is I'm doing at the time. Now the dragon's got his knee out, so to speak, a bit like a TT racer going around a bend. So we've got to carve now. You know, instead of carving it flat, I want to carve it towards final shape, so that I don't make any more mistakes. I can't afford to keep doing that because I don't have that much space, wood space left to carve further down to correct mistakes. Yes, I've kind of learned that these days. I don't always remember, but I do try and sort of put some element of what it is I'm doing a quick response to in the message. These days when I'm talking back to streamers, it's you know, it's remind them of the joke that I'm laughing at. Did the bank manager approve the new pliers, Adi? And have you got them yet? And how are they? Assuming that you have got them yet, and if you haven't, then obviously you can't answer the question. I've got a feeling they'll turn out to be really nice. Is that your hobby, Al Washer? Heavy artillery? Well, that's some lean over with all that lot on the ground. Oh yes, yeah. The bank manager was for the extra things, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I think the interesting thing might well be what could fire a shell that big. Good night then, Alwasher. Have a good evening. Okay. So is that well? Okay, you off. I was going to say that's probably the big rail-mounted gun, is it? Remind me never to carve things with little tiny spaces like this again. And by which I mean, if you see me carving or expecting to carve little tiny things like this again, remind me of this. I'm not doing too bad, but yeah, they're all good. Yeah, 3,000 people. Blimey, that took a lot. Yeah, I can't imagine artillery that can fire something, with an explosive charge, 50 kilometres. It's yeah. Now that's gone down below the wing membrane. I think I'll take it down a little bit further than I've got it. What I'm going to do also is round off the knee, because it's kind of square at the moment. Not quite sure the shape I want, so by doing it now when I've still got space, you know, to carve down a little bit if necessary, I can, yeah. If it turns out to be not what I want, I can adjust it. Of course, what I should be just is sort of bold and confident and go, yeah, that's, you know, that's how it's going to be. But I guess that sort of comes with experience more than anything else, i.e. that which I do not currently have. So although I'm kind of prematurely doing things like, you know, this shape carving, it does help me to see what it is I'm doing, and that I'm actually, you know, working in the right sort of area and direction. I was just thinking then, I've got a weird combination to eat after the stream: onion barges and donuts. Now then, let's take a little fine chisel. Yeah, an awful lot of weird stuff tried. Of course, when one side tried it, the other side had to try it as well. What the World War II stuff that fascinates me, of course, is I was going to say Enigma, but it's not. It's not Enigma. It's a cult station that where they worked. I've forgotten what the name of the place is now. Oh dear. But you know the story behind the code breaking at and I almost had it then. That's a fascinating story, the way in which, you know, that was done, and the code breaking was actually achieved, and the machines that were built to do it. And the first, of course, the first programmable or stored program computer was built there. which nobody knew about for a good many years. Good many years, that is, yeah. Bletchley Park. I knew it would come to me. Yep, Bletchley Park. First computer was Z1R. Colossus, wasn't it? I think, if I remember rightly. Oops, it is, eh? Bye bye now, Alwasher. Have a good evening. Hope to see you again on a future stream. Yeah, so that's kind of like down there. Just shaping this this back leg a little bit. Actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to use. Where is it? Yeah, alright, go on all over the floor then. I have a skew chisel.